gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
International travel is just a little bit more difficult, and there are a lot of questions about it. So, how about some domestic options where we can steer our clients? Hmm, let me think of one. Vegas. Yeah, baby. Today on Travel Think Tank, we are heading to Sin City and we're checking in with Joel Peterson from the LVCVA and Dustin Personius, leisure sales manager for the Circa Resort and Casino, the newest resort on Fremont Street. Welcome into Travel Think Tank, presented by the Hub Social Network. I'm Pat Miller, and you are on Travel Agent TV. While you're here on our YouTube channel, make sure you hit subscribe because that way you can find us whenever we're creating content for travel agents by the travel industry. That's what makes this channel unique. We're glad you're here. Today's discussion, at least as we do it live, is 100% interactive. So we'd love to see your questions and comments and sarcastic remarks inside the chat because that's what makes this fun. So if there's something that you want to know about Las Vegas, put it in the chat and we will get it up into the conversation. So as you all know, international travel is kind of, you can do it, but there's a lot of questions, right? So sometimes our clients are more ready for a domestic vacation right now because everybody's ready to get out of the house. So why don't we head over to Las Vegas and check in with our friends Joel Peterson from the LVCVA and Dustin Personius from the new Circa Resort and Casino. So Joel, let's start with you, my friend. It's always good to hear about Vegas. What is happening? How is Vegas doing right now?
So thank you so much, Pat. So Las Vegas is kind of starting to slowly see a bit of a recovery, especially as we look into the months of March and April right now. The first couple months of this year were a bit tough. We still have capacity restraints on groups, which has limited our ability to have any type of group or convention market segment into the destination. It has been all about the leisure traveler since this whole pandemic started. So with that, and what's a great asset and amenity for our destination is the pools and the pool season. And as we get into better weather next month in March, we are starting to see some of the hotels open up their pools a little bit earlier than maybe they would otherwise do so. However, it's another and a great amenity that we can talk to our visitors and show them that's something that they can take advantage of. So we are starting to see a bit of an uptick in bookings. We are anxiously awaiting for the next governor's press conference that we hope will have some positive news as it relates to lifting a lot of the restrictions as it relates to group gathering capacities, as well as our percentage of restaurants and bars and what restrictions we have there. Our cases have been getting better in Nevada, which is great. That hopefully is going to lead us to open that up for more restrictions. It is very unfortunate with what is going on with all the restrictions for obviously international travel and with the domestic market. Let's knock on wood that there's no additional restrictions that might be coming down, obviously, because there's certainly chatter out there. But we are seeing airlines adding flights to Las Vegas. We are seeing capacity and load factors performing fairly decent for many of the airlines. That is kind of supporting their schedules into March, April, May, and getting into the summertime. So, we've always been kind of that fun weekend getaway destination, and with what's been going on with so many different market segments, Vegas is kind of that great trip while you're waiting that maybe you've rebooked. Clients maybe have rebooked and are maybe going to go later this year, maybe into next year. They don't want to miss out on that leisure trip. And I think we all can agree with that. They may have missed out that leisure trip last year. And Las Vegas, and what the pricing is in the marketplace and the flight availability, there's some amazing deals, especially midweek, because we do not have groups and conventions midweek. Our hotel partners have some very aggressive offers, not just with rate, but also what they're doing on the amenity side with food and beverage credit and resort credits and so forth. So it can be a sleeper destination right now of seeing what a great value. It may be even more so than what our agency partners are typically used to seeing.
Let's step back for a second. If I would have told you a year ago at this time that you would miss convention season, I mean, that's just unthinkable. That's Armageddon, but yet here's Vegas hanging in there.
We are. So, and it's tough because that's such a vital market segment for us. We usually, it's about 6 million visitors a year that come to Vegas just for conventions out of our normal 42 million visitors a year. We're over 50% down in visitors from last year. So obviously we weren't going to make that up with leisure, but we did what we could as a destination to still attract the leisure travelers to our city with what amenities we could offer them. We, of course, don't have as many abundant shows to offer, but there are activities, there are things to do for a visitor that's coming to our destination. And to be honest, some people might be looking for a smaller crowd. And, we've been built on big crowds with concerts and sporting events and shows and casinos, but some people may be looking to say, hey, this is maybe the time. It's a little less crowded and not so busy. We'll take them, believe me. And I'm sure everyone on the call here will take them, because what's just devastating is having cancellations and rebooking that many months out rather than getting that traveler to still commit to going. And that's where, we have that benefit of being still a domestic destination and not having those, those restrictions in place at this point in time.
I can imagine you are eager for an improvement in the restrictions, but just so we're all aware, what is the state of play right now with restrictions in Nevada?
Sure thing. So we do have a mandated face mask requirement throughout the entire state. So not just in the city of Las Vegas. So that is, you'll see that in the casinos and the hotels and so forth. So that is a restriction. We still are only at 25% capacity for restaurants, bars, lounges, etc. 4 people per table if you're eating and dining at a restaurant. We do have some select shows that are open. With our group capacity at only 50, there are a few showrooms that can open, even if they're only selling 50 people, which you can imagine the financial decision that has to be in order to say, yes, it's worth it. But, entertainment is such the fabric of our destination, and to not have that it has been tough. But there is that component. And then from the casino side, yes, we still have the casinos are wide open, but there are restrictions on the amount of people that can play at table games. You'll see less slot machines that are going to be turned on, less stools where people are sitting at slot machines as well. So Pat, you may have to look a little bit harder for your penny slot, killer machine. You seem, maybe you're a nickel guy. I don't know.
No. I'm a craps player. Like, come on, let's give me some respect here. Let's go. Golden Arm Miller right here.
Good job.
Thank you. So let's talk about what's coming up. We're going to talk in just a second with Dustin from the brand new Circa Hotel on Fremont Street. But there are some organic events that are coming. They're going to put that buzz back on Vegas. You mentioned the pools opening back up. Roughly when is that? You're saying it might be a little earlier, March sometime, do you think?
So we are seeing some of the hotels announcing that they'll be opening pools in early March, usually versus kind of end of March when kind of the spring break period kicks in. So you'll start seeing some of the hotels and a lot of their marketing start communicating that. But it's a great amenity that they offer that we have to use to our advantage to try to bring visitors to the city.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so we have obviously that component. Which will be a big thing. So the other kind of on the entertainment side, in the last year, we have this new area called Area 15, which is kind of a take on Area 51, but it's a kind of this new art immersive entertainment experience. It's only about a 5 to 10 minute drive off the strip, but there's some new venues that have opened up there. Todd English is a well-known chef, opened up a restaurant there. The co-founder of the Blue Man Group show, his name is Chris Wink, opened up Winked World, which is an immersive experience that kind of helps to explain how they use black lights and different lighting in the Blue Man Group show. And it's kind of an exhibit that you can walk through. There's Dual Axe throwing venue. They just opened up an arcade emporium that has old school 80s arcade games for the adults that are looking to prove their Galaga or their Zaxxon skills if they want to get back into that. But I love this because it really shows off a lot of local art, but as well as other artists that have brought that to Las Vegas. Meow Wolf is a Santa Fe-based kind of an art entertainment company. It's they open up this mega mart, but it's a grocery store that has really odd kind of odd products that you normally could buy at a grocery store, but it has kind of comedy and kind of a comedy labels to the different things that they offer. So it's really it's an exciting new venue that we can have and offer to clients that are looking for something new. There is no admission to get into Area 15, but the different exhibits, there's some virtual reality things and some zip lines inside the building that you can do, that there are some of those admission prices. But it's something new that we're excited to offer to clients that are looking for that new thing to do if they're, a regular in our city.
So in addition to the pools, you have the natural uplift of the March Madness basketball tournament in the middle of March. How big is that event for the city?
So March Madness has easily become one of our highest demand weekends of the year. Super Bowl weekend, the major holiday weekends, Labor Day weekend, et cetera. But the fact that they are, be honest, when they canceled March Madness last year, I think we all were looking around like, what is going on with this pandemic? You don't cancel college basketball tournament in March. I've got so much money riding on that. That's a joke, of course. But so with that cancellation and the fact they're going to be operating the tournament games, many of the hotels are being very creative in how they're going to be able to accommodate visitors. Obviously, with an MGM Resorts, for example, you have their BetMGM SportsBooks that are going to be open, but there's going to be other venues, and there's so many more sports themed venues that are in the city of Las Vegas that will be capacity controlled. So we're crossing our fingers that if we can move up a bit on our capacity limitations, it's just going to open up more and more entertainment options that we can offer guests. But it is really taken a life of its own over the last 10 to 15 years that just, the whole sports betting. And, I live here in Chicago, right? So, Illinois has quickly become a very popular state of the whole online sports betting. And yeah, that may impact Las Vegas a little bit down the line, but, there's nothing more than exciting than being in Vegas and putting your long shot bets at the sports book, that hopefully can pay off to, cover your penny slot, deficits you may be having elsewhere in the casino. So We're really excited that March Madness is happening. It's on, and we're excited to welcome guests next month for that.
Well, when you talk about sports betting, one of the new resort in Vegas is known for sports betting, and it's on Fremont Street. And we're going to come to Dustin in just one second, but we have a question in the chat that I'd like you to handle, Joel. And it's, are there any hotels that are offering day passes for pools? Because Dana tells us in the chat about the drama to try and get one of her clients into a pool. So are day passes a thing, or do you have to be a guest?
We will have to see whether or not our restrictions are going to be, if there's going to be less restrictions. Last year, if you had to be a hotel guest to use a lot of those day clubs. So they weren't allowing a lot of non-hotel guests to use the larger ones like at MGM Grand, like Wet Republic or Liquid at Aria. So it may be too early to tell for that. But I would say a hotel is not going to want to turn revenue away, but yet they also have to be safety protocol cognizant as well. And so you can't have, 3,000 people showing up at the Encore Beach Club and say, hey, I didn't know they were selling tickets, to this. So I would say, hotel guests are obviously going to be locked in, but once we know a little bit more on our capacity gathering sizes, we'll be able to have probably more information that we can share on that at this point.
That's great. Well, Joel, thanks for the information. We've got more questions I'm sure that will come in. We'll come back to you in just a second. But would like to welcome to the call Dustin Personius, Leisure Sales Manager for Circa Resort and Casino. Dustin, it's great to have you here on Travel Agent TV. How are things in Vegas today?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Things are good. I think to Joel's point, we are starting to see some movement in the right direction. We're seeing a lot of, I think, pent-up demand, and we're seeing almost like this bottleneck effect in terms of demand where we're seeing very short term inside of 7 days, but we're also seeing some search hits, and we're seeing some conversion moving out into April and May and throughout the summer. So I think if early indications are kind of any indication of where we're going to go, I think we have the potential, restrictions aside, of having a really, really strong summer season, which again speaks to Joel's point about the leisure and the regional market trend we're seeing out here in the destination.
Well, then you see some experts on Twitter that are commenting that the demand for the vaccine the supply will outweigh the demand by the end of March, that they're going to get this under control real fast, which would be great for Vegas and for all of us for sure. So I'm a big Circa fan, but I want to hear it from you. Tell folks about the new resort and casino Circa down on Fremont Street.
Hey, I'm a big fan of Circa as well. And let me just backtrack for a few seconds on the pool day pass thing. We will talk a little bit about Stadium Swim, our pool complex here, but we do actually allow outside guests day pass access up to Stadium Swim. We look at that as an attraction venue meant to be enjoyed by really all visitors to the city, understanding that we are under capacity restrictions, but we only have about 500 hotel rooms open and available right now. The pool deck capacity is about 4,000 folks. So we're not going to get there based on our hotel occupancy only. And even at running 25%, we still have about 1,000 people up at the pool deck. So keep that in mind for your clients. If you do have somebody who wants to come check out a pool at a hotel they're not staying at. Circa's just been a really cool addition to the city, not only for downtown, which I think was in desperate need of something new to talk about in a new, not really a theme, but just a new concept in the downtown area. But I think for the destination as a whole, it kind of, not to sound hokey, but it kind of gave us some hope that, okay, things are getting better, because why would we have not mothballed this if we thought things were only going to get worse, or we thought this whole trend was going to continue a lot longer. So, huge credit to our ownership. They just have this incredible vision of what they want this property to be. It's a really special place. If you haven't checked it out online, I encourage you to do it. There are it's just an incredible spot. I wouldn't call it sports themed, but it certainly is sports focused. From the largest sports book in the world to, as I mentioned earlier, Stadium Swim. It's just this outdoor venue with this 143-foot massive screen. Right out, you can catch your Rays and you can catch the game all at the same time. It's just an incredible spot, and we're really, really proud of it.
What does this mean for downtown to get that kind of investment shot in the arm of a brand new, beautiful resort? Is it making waves on Fremont Street?
Absolutely. I think when you consider the fact that downtown for a long time was known as the place where you typically only go if you only stay if you've been to the city a couple of times and we're looking for something different, and you might not venture down there unless, again, you've been to the city and kind of felt like, okay, I want something different than the Strip. And now, because of its newness, I think we're seeing people get off the plane, go to their hotel, maybe on the Strip, and they're immediately coming down and checking us out. I think number two, it also acts as a way for the other properties on Fremont Street to sort of up their game to a certain extent as well, because they want to maintain their foot traffic right on property. I had the privilege of working with Gold Nugget for about 6 years before I started here. And, we watched this property literally come out of the ground, and we were kind of having meetings about, okay, what are we going to do when they're fully operational? How do we complement each other? And the downtown area very much does that very well. We all work very well together. We look at ourselves as a destination within the destination. I think the other thing it did, one of the negative impacts of this pandemic among the many was that there's a lot of really good people in our industry that were faced with a situation where they weren't able to they didn't have a job anymore, right? And so during a time when a lot of the operators in the city, through really no fault of their own, were laying off people, were eliminating positions, were furloughing folks, we were hiring. And I was one of those fortunate hires. And I think what it did is it allowed us this incredible talent pool to choose from, and the ideas that get thrown around in our meetings and how we're going to optimize the guest experience and how we're going to optimize the resort, and just the detail that goes into everything from design to execution for this property is really, really special.
So let's ask some questions for the agents that are on the call. A client calls and says, okay, Circa, what is this place? And the first thing that we should say, it's 21 and older. Whoa. Okay. So that's a thing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was the destination's first 21 and over resort. What that means is really just what it sounds like. It's not just the game areas. It's not just the bars. In order to enter the property, every guest must be at least 21 years of age or older. So it is fully adults only experience. What went into that, if you're familiar with our ownership, they've talked about this in our Twitter feed, as we were talking about earlier. Think about the amount of times that you go into a property, you sit down at a blackjack table, you're lucky, you show your ID, you start, your lucky street ends, you go to another table, you're pulling out your ID again. You go to a bar to order a drink, you're pulling out your ID. Not only does that create kind of a negative guest experience because you're constantly reaching for your wallet, which in Vegas you do plenty anyway, but it's also a service. It's also a service hindrance, right? I mean, if you can add 15 or take it, if you can subtract 15 seconds from every round a bartender has to serve, imagine how much more productive you can be. So really, there was a lot of thought that went into that. When I first heard about it, I thought they were nuts, but it has been incredibly well received. And I guess it's one of the reasons why I work for the place instead of owning it, because they have better ideas than I do. But it's been really, really, really well received so far.
And there are other things on the bullet point list of, oh, Circa, that's the place that does this, this, and this. And we talked a little bit about Stadium Swim, but it's a really unique place. Describe it for us.
The Stadium Swim itself, or
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stadium Swim is our rooftop pool. It sits about on the 5th floor. There are 6 pools. There's 2 kind of on the 5th floor, and then 4 additional pools on the lower level, which is about the 4th floor. I don't know how to describe this other than a really, really interesting mix between what you might find in terms of infrastructure at a day club versus what you might find at an outdoor concert venue. So we are not a day club. I want to point that out, and I want to make that very clear, but it's a wide open space, lots of sun. It is a 365-day pool season. The Stadium Swim screen is about 143 feet diagonally. So we can program, of course, Super Bowl, but we can also program during March Madness multiple games up on the screen. There's no shortage of cabanas, day beds, lily pads, bar service, swim up bars, you name it. It's really, really cool. And you will find a quick Google search even would show you some aerial photos from partners with Maverick Helicopters, for example, that kind of give you an idea of exactly what this venue looks like from the air. It's incredible. Everybody I take out there just kind of looks at it and is like, wow, this is way overdue.
And then the sportsbook is amazing and unique. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so the soundbite around here is that the sportsbook was so big we had to build a casino and a hotel around it. And really, it's a 3-story structure. The first time I saw it was right after I started working before we opened back in August, and they were they were color testing the screen, and I could not get over. I don't even know how to describe how large it is. Again, Joel's walked through the property with me a couple times, and you know, it's a 3-story, ridiculously bright screen. It actually takes about there you go. It takes about a full-time service team of 10 people to operate the programming on the Stadium Swim screen and the sportsbook screen.
And then we also have a little shot here of Stadium Swim. So there's a
There
look
it
at what
is.
it looks like. Showing a giant football game, and look at all those day beds. Very, very cool. All right, cool. And there's some other like hidden gems inside the resort. So the Mega Bar is the biggest bar in Las Vegas. Is that right?
Yeah. So I should really mention this, that this property was our ownership group built this property after investment in Las Vegas for years, initially at the Golden Gate and then ultimately the Fitzgerald's, which was turned into the D. The D, our sister property, hosts Long Bar, which was the longest indoor bar in the state of Nevada until October of last year when Circa opened. So to outdo its older brother, I should say, we have the Mega Bar, which is about 165 feet long, sits inside the casino floor next to the sportsbook. There's double stacked LCD TVs across the top of it. There was one Thursday night. There it is. There was one Thursday night, I think, where the Bucks were playing, and I was walking through the casino, and it was just 46 TVs with Tom Brady's head on it, which, as a long-suffering Bills fan, was kind of hard to watch, but it was sort of cool all at the same time. It's an incredible venue, and it's really cool to see people when they walk in. I mean, you know, because it sits sort of adjacent to the sports book, the first thing you see is the sports book, and then they look over and they see Mega Bar, and it's almost sensory overload.
Yeah. And there are some really neat features in there about the restaurants. Can you talk a little bit about the restaurants before we move on? Because what I want to ask you about is how the agents can find some commissionable revenue inside the resort. But I do want to hear about the restaurants. So tell us about the restaurants that are on property.
Yeah. So again, ownership group keeps very close tabs on its historical partners. So American Coney Island was an installation over here at the D where I office. Their ownership has opened Victory Burger at Circa. Victory Burger and Wings. It's kind of a quick service, fast casual, kind of upper scale fast casual that sits right next to the sports book. We have a 24-hour deli by Saginaw's, which is another friend of our ownership out of Michigan. We have a Project Barbecue sits right out actually on Fremont Street. It was the first food truck experience within Fremont Street experience, and now it's actually built right into the side of Circa. It's got a really cool setup there. The highlight, bar none, is going to be Barry's Downtown Prime, which is our steakhouse. It sits one level below the casino, so it's almost like kind of going into almost like a basement or a cellar. I don't even really know how to describe it, because the design, the size of the space is so incredible. The food is amazing. It's definitely an attraction. It actually sits right below the restored Vegas Vicky, which if you've ever been downtown, you might remember Vegas Vicky used to sit out on Fremont Street across from Vegas Vic. She's been fully restored. She has her own bar right in the hotel lobby. So she kind of overlooks that entrance to Barry's. You will not make a mistake ordering anything on that menu. It's incredible.
All right, so let's talk money, right? We're all trying to make a little bit here, and we want to have reasons to send people to Vegas. Learning what we can make some extra cash on always helps. So let's talk about products that are commissionable to travel agents when we send them to Circa.
Sure. So for sure, right now, what I'm working on right now from let's take rooms, right? Because room sales is kind of where we're going to start. So we're working on. Let me back this up just a hot second, because of the pandemic and because of some of the folks the limited resources some of our partners have had, it's been a slow process to get the property loaded on some of our third parties. So we're working on getting GDS live probably within the next couple of weeks. We're working on partners that are probably going to be used by the bulk of these folks, similar to Apple Leisure Group. That's going to contract signed, sealed. It's just a matter of flipping that switch live. So as far as booking room product, that's going to be something that's going to be available here relatively shortly. Our cabana product, daybed product, there are actually right now, I just got off a call before I hopped on this with our concierge team, who is actually putting together a commissionable product pamphlet brochure for us, so we know a little bit more about what that structure looks like. Right now, it's just a matter of the technology and how we make sure we get proper credit to the folks who are actually sending the business our way.
Okay. And what about dining? Can we get in on the Barry's Prime? Can we do some other ideas here? What do you got for dining?
That one, I can't answer in the affirmative right now. As with a lot of properties, we do have third-party vendors, so we have to kind of get their buy-in for all these things. And typically what happens is our owned assets are the ones that we use first to determine how well a commissionable program would work, what the functionality looks like, and then we kind of share the love with everybody else.
All right. Sounds great. The resort looks beautiful. I personally can't wait to check it out. Is there anything about Circa we haven't covered that you want to share?
I think it's just, again, and I've been saying this for years about downtown, if you have a client who's interested in Vegas for their first time, it's very difficult to convince them to stay with us, in any property downtown. They want to be on the strip. Our owner said it best the night we opened. He said, look, we want this to be an attraction for any visitor to Vegas to feel comfortable, come down, visit us, check us out, check out the look and the feel of the property. I will say this, if you have somebody who's heard about us, our room product is stellar. And we have some really interesting and unique concepts up in the tower that I think speak really well to something that there's been demand for years that just we haven't been able to see in the city and especially downtown. So I think it's again something very special to see. Come and check us out.
That's great. We got a few questions here about Fremont Street that I'm sure you can answer. One of them is, I heard the downtown zip line is now under the new lights and the light show, is that true, right? The zip line's happening under the Fremont Street experience, and the light show is now 24/7, or is that just at night still?
Well, there's programming available now, in theory, 24/7. So I believe it was the end of 2019, which ever since then, everything's kind of been a wash, but the entire Fremont Street canopy was replaced. I want to say it was about 30 times. It's 30 times brighter now. We can run programming during the day. The sound and lighting have all been upgraded. The zip line, the Slotzilla zip line, there's two options there. There's the traditional zip line where you kind of sit in the harness and go from about Las Vegas Boulevard down to, say, just outside the Four Queens. And then there's the zoom line, where you sit in the harness Superman style and kind of fly overhead the entire length of Fremont Street from Las Vegas Boulevard all the way down to Main Street. Very popular attraction. They are open, they are operating, of course, limited hours, limited capacity at this point, but it's a very popular attraction. And prior to the pandemic, they were their revenues were getting into like the $1 million a month category. I mean,
Wow.
it's a very, very popular attraction. Again, another thing I said would never work and has completely exceeded all expectations. So why I keep getting hired, I will never understand.
Well, that's why you sell it, right? You're good at
Yeah,
selling it. You do the selling, let them do the ideation, and you'll make a lot of money. That'd be great. Dustin Personius, Leisure Sales Manager for Circa Resort and Casino. See you there soon. Thanks, Dustin. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, Joel, let's go back to you for a second. So let's talk about some of the exciting other things that we haven't touched on yet. So Elon Musk is digging under the city, and this just sounds like something agents should know all about. So give us an update on the Boring Company. That's the name of the company that drills the holes, the Boring Company, what they're doing and what agents need to know.
So after I've accepted that I didn't buy Tesla at $80 a share and now it's trading at what it is, that's fine. We still love the guy for our city because he is building a great transportation infrastructure. So right now, basically these are high-speed electric Tesla vehicles that are currently being used in our new convention center expansion that just opened last month. So it's a parallel tunnel system. The Tesla cars are equipped for 16 people, but would normally take you 15 to 20 minutes to walk from our old convention center to the expansion. Now it'll take about 2 minutes in the car. Currently, it's going to be drivers moving eventually to self-autonomous, and it will be driving itself just because Elon Musk can figure that out. So very exciting for our convention center, but why this is relevant for everybody and our visitors is he is in the process of talking to our county commissioners to expand this whole underground tunnel system using electric Tesla vehicles to extend from the airport to the Strip to downtown out to Allegiant Stadium. This could be absolutely revolutionary for our whole transportation infrastructure because I'm sure everyone I'm seeing on the call has probably been to Las Vegas, nod your head, right? And you know that the congestion on the Strip is horrific, and it usually can be horrific at like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday for no reason at all. But changing that and adding this component for our transportation is going to be great. Of course, Uber and Lyft is always going to be there, and taxis, but only in Vegas can you literally now get into a Tesla car and be moved up and down the Strip. So Elon Musk's Boring Company is actually paying for all the drilling that would be taking place. Now, again, this hasn't been approved yet, but the hotels would be the ones paying if they're going to be a stop station on that whole transportation route. So we're excited for that potentially to get approved. They have approved that the Resorts World property, the new property opening in the summer of this year on the old site of the Stardust Hotel, the first hotel I stayed at in Las Vegas. That property will actually now be the first extension hotel of the Loop, the Vegas Loop, the tunnel system, as well as the Encore property. So those two properties, because of their proximity to our convention center, make sense. But then as you're going to start considering drilling up and down Las Vegas Boulevard to downtown and where those stations are going to be, it's going to be exciting. We're crossing our fingers, but I think we are kind of optimistic that this would make sense based on the financials of it and the benefit and assets it would be for the city from a transportation side.
Yeah, when it's done, it certainly will be convenient. I want to circle back to one thing you mentioned. Obviously, there's great air service to Las Vegas, but you mentioned some competitive hotel options, and the resorts are really trying to earn everyone's business. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that about what we need to know?
Sure. So I would say right now, and everyone knows, right? I mean, our length of stay in Vegas is about 3 nights. We are, it's unlike a lot of the international markets where it's, 5, 6, 7 nights or even longer. So the package rates, of course, are going to be less. And obviously I know that impacts commission. However, when it comes to the value proposition to a client, to be able to sell a very quick weekend getaway to Las Vegas is an easy one to add to your portfolio of what you sell. So how hotels, because there's only so low you can go on rates. When you got 150,000 rooms in the city, a lot of hotels are offering a lot of amenities as it relates to food and beverage credits or resort credits. We're probably not going to be an all-inclusive destination ever. Never say never, but highly likely we won't. But the restaurant, the dining side, and other amenities hotels offer is highly valued by the visitor. So we are seeing hotels come to the table with a lot of attractive resort credits, food and beverage credits. So if anybody has any specific questions of hotels they might be looking at, I can certainly offer that. As well as upgraded rooms. With a lot of hotels running lower occupancy, a lot of those suites are open, or a lot of those better room views are going to be open, and that's an easy one also to sell. So, those kind of surprises for clients make you, again, look that much more like a rock star to them, to say, hey, they got me something I didn't even know. I love that. And then hopefully that's obviously the same client coming back to you that's going to book the cruise, the Mexico Caribbean trip, the Europe trip, the Hawaii trip, and wherever that, whatever that may be. So there's your shout out, Galen. So, but it's reality. We're such an easy cross sell to people, to your clients, that are staying 7 nights at a Hard Rock in Punta Cana, or they're doing a suite on a Royal Caribbean ship. These are clients that easily are going to Vegas, and I know everybody on this call. I mean, you're successful and you get it. You know how to sell, and that's where the Vegas is in kind of this unique position right now, with everything going on in other market segments, to try to still capture that business and obviously retain that client's loyalty. And our hotels are trying to offer those type of amenities to attract people to pull the trigger on those trips.
Well, it's about stories and features and commissionable upgrades and opportunities. So thank you and Dustin for sharing the information today, because, you gave us some more ammunition, which is fantastic. Sandy's got a question here. Have they thought about selling park passes to like Zion or Bryce that are close, or the Grand Canyon? Have you heard anything like that, Joel?
That I have not, actually.
Okay. Very good. Well, it's a good thought, Sandy. That'd be great if we could do that.
Well,
Look, he's writing it down.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned that is because we went to Vegas 2 years ago, and that's exactly what we did.
Huh.
We took a day trip to the Grand Canyon, or we drove to Bryce or Zion. So it's just an idea.
No,
Well,
that's a great idea. And I have to say, so I'm finally walking the walk and talking the talk. I'm bringing my family, my 2 kids, to Las Vegas for their first trip ever. My wife has been there plenty of times, but I have a 14 and a 16-year-old. So, gosh, it scares me because they want to get to the sports book, but we'll manage through that. But we're doing a Red Rock Resort stay, and we're going to stay maybe one night on the Strip. So, but to your point, Sandy, the whole outdoor activity, that's how we're structuring our whole itineraries, to Valley of Fire and Red Rock Canyon and Mount Charleston, and really enjoying some of those outdoor activities. We're going at the end of March for spring break. So I'm really stoked. It's going to be a lot of fun. And my boys can see what this city is all about, that I've been talking about for the last 8 years, that I think they don't think I actually have a real job, that I talk about this mystical place. So I'm excited they can see it firsthand next month.
Well, I'm glad Sandy got on with a question, because anyone that has a flat Elvis stand up in their office gets to talk Vegas whenever they want. So Sandy, you get to the front of the line. You're like a upgraded VIP on this show.
Love
It's,
Elvis.
man, look at that. That's for real. Look, he's even got a lay on. Look at that.
I gotta fix him, but yeah, he's kind of,
I'm impressed. Thanks, Sandy. And thank you to Dustin and to Joel for coming on and talking to us today. And Dustin, I'm not sure if you saw it in the chat, but Dana needs 12 pool passes. Did you see that in the chat? I want to make sure that you guys get connected.
No problem.
All right, great. So you guys get connected and make a sale. See, Dustin, you come on here, you make money when you work on the hub. That's what we do, right? That's what we do. All right, Dustin Personius, leisure sales manager for Circa Resort and Casino. Joel Peterson, of course, our friend from the LVCVA. Thank you both for coming on the show today. All right, so let's turn to a couple of announcements here on Travel Agent TV before we wrap up for the rest of the show here. We've got some releases coming out. This Friday, we're going to head down to Cancun, and we're going to see the brand new Planet Hollywood. Monica Carnes and Jürgen Stutz, they gave us a tour of the new Planet Hollywood in Cancun. So that's going live on Friday here on Travel Agent TV. We just wrapped up Sarah Klein's awesome series on destination weddings. So thank you, Sarah, for that. Up next, we'll send some good vibes out with Tanya Murphy, who's doing some basic information on starter travel agents. We're talking what's the day in the life like, what are some travel agent hacks, and one episode on all-inclusives. Those are all coming out. We also have, in Vegas parlance, a whale who's on the hook. We haven't shot the interview yet, but we have a whale that's getting ready to come on Travel Agent TV. So fingers crossed on that. Tom, if you could make that whale interview happen, I think that would be fantastic. Did we get that
I'm
yet?
working on it.
Come on now. We need to have that interview because this is a whale, wouldn't you say?
I would say.
All right. So we're working on
That's a
that as
teaser.
well.
That's the teaser. We'll get it.
So what's going on back at Hub HQ? Anything you want to add before we sign off for today?
Yes, sure. Well, first of all, thanks to all you. Great seeing you guys' faces as always on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:30. And I'm just blown away by Vegas. You know, I just think as you guys were talking, Dustin and Joel, just describing it, I mean, I can just see myself on the deck at the stadium swim. You know, Tom Carnes might be there, Jennifer Waldner might be there, maybe Katie, you know, some of all these great people that are here with us today. I can just envision us all enjoying Las Vegas, and that experience is just amazing. Las Vegas never fails to innovate. I mean, even in the last year when things have been, you know, on the downside, as Dustin said, did they mothball it? No. They probably made it bigger and better than, you know, what they had intended. So thanks to Vegas for that. And I think we all just have to kind of wrap our brains around, hey, how can we sell Vegas? How can we sell it profitably? How can we build, instead of packages, how can we build itineraries, right? And, you know, get it to the point where from our standpoint as agents, you know, it makes sense for us financially, return on investment. And it sounds like with some of the things that they're doing at Circa and looking at ways to expand the commissionable aspects of what agents are selling, I mean, that would sure help. So thanks to you guys. Very nice to meet you, Dustin. And you have an amazing product to sell, and I can't wait to get there and see it. And Joel, we love you. You know that, and appreciate you being on today.
I was anticipating today to be a 9-hour episode because I literally could talk about Vegas till I'm blue in the face, but we got to wrap up here on Travel Agent TV. Thanks for tuning in for Think Tank. I'm Pat Miller, your host. We'll see you on the Hub.